Hey, it's Mike Hambright with FlipNerd.com. Welcome back for another exciting VIP interview where I interview some of the most successful real estate investing experts and entrepreneurs in our industry to help you learn and grow. Today, I'm joined by Alex Pardo. He's a veteran real estate investor out of Miami that left corporate America to have a better life. He knew there was a better way than working for someone else. Over the years, he's realized the importance of building a team of A players is the best way to build a scalable business and to put some systems and things in place to really truly create a business instead of a hobby. So we really can't talk about this stuff enough. Before we get started with Alex, though, let's take a moment to recognize our featured sponsors. RealtyMogul.com is an online marketplace for real estate investing, connecting borrowers and capital from accredited and institutional investors. Get a rehab loan fast and close in as little as 10 days. Rates start as low as 9%. We'd also like to thank National Real Estate Insurance Group, the nation's leading provider of insurance to the residential real estate investor market. From individual properties to large-scale investors, National Real Estate Insurance Group is ready to serve you. Please note, the views and opinions expressed by the individuals in this program do not necessarily reflect those of FlipNerd.com or any of its partners, advertisers, or affiliates. Please consult professionals before making any investment or tax decisions, as real estate investing can be risky. Hey, Alex, welcome to the show.
Hey, Mike, thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. How you doing today?
Doing great, man. Doing great. I'm looking forward to contributing some content and providing value wherever I can, man.
That's great. I think that's one of the great things about this show is that people, a lot of people don't really believe this when I say it, but there are a lot of veteran real estate investors that are always happy to share their information and give back. I think a lot of people assume, why would people share their story? And the part of it's ego, part of it is, like we talked about before, it's a lonely business and you love to kind of share your lessons, probably, like a lot of us do. And so I'm glad you're here.
Definitely, man. Yeah, I know when I got started, this was one of the things I did is, back in 2004, 2005, we didn't have, programs like yours. I had to jump on Google and try to find articles. So yeah. I learned from people back then, and I'm always happy to contribute and give back.
Awesome. Hey, before we get started, why don't you share your experience? Tell us a little bit about you, but start with, when you were in corporate America and you decided to leave, because I think I'm a corporate refugee as well. I think a lot of people, I don't know if I need to trademark that term, corporate refugee, but I use it a lot. But I think a lot of people are like you and me, that they're in a corporate job and they just feel like that's not their calling. And so I think a lot of people will resonate with your story.
Yeah, so like you and I were speaking before we started the show here is, when I was graduating from FIU in 2002, I always had aspirations and dreams of being a CFO, being a CEO of a Fortune 500 company. Little did I know that it was the exact opposite of what I actually wanted to do with my life. And I accepted a job with General Electric in their financial management program. And 3 months into the program, working 60, 70, sometimes 80 hours a week, behind a cubicle looking at Excel and PowerPoint all day, I realized that this is the definition of a rat race and I needed to do something to get out and get out fast. But I felt a little bit obligated because I had made a commitment to them. I had moved from Miami to Atlanta and I wanted to finish the 2-year program with them and leave on good terms. So I did that. And this was in January of 2005 that I left General Electric. Long story short, I decided to take some time off. I went backpacking around Europe with a couple of friends, trying to basically find myself, for lack of a better phrase. And I had always been interested in real estate investing. I had bought the Kiyosaki books. I was constantly reading about buying and selling houses, renting. I just didn't know what niche within real estate I wanted to get involved in. So my last week, this is August of 2005, my last week in Europe, I was partying in Ibiza and I hopped into an internet cafe to check out some email. And a buddy of mine, Ray, here in Miami, sent me an email and he said, hey, Dave Lindahl is having a Marketing for Deals bootcamp in Atlanta. This is October 2005. It's $997. Do you want to join me? And after a lot of kind of going back and forth and looking at my bank credit card statement, I pretty much had to put it on credit. I didn't have that money back then. I had blown all my money just traveling around Europe. But nonetheless, I decided that I had to do something. I knew I didn't want to jump back into a 9 to 5, or in my case, a 7 to 7 type of job. Right. So I attended that boot camp. I plucked one of the letters out from Dave's manual that he gave us, and I sent out my first direct mail campaign when I got home at the end of October. And a month later, I went under contract with a homeowner who was actually in pre-foreclosure. And 3 months later, we ended up netting $44,000 on that deal, which is just shy of what I was making on my corporate job. And once that happened, man, there was just no looking back. I just, I've been doing this full time since then.
Yeah, and you know what's a little interesting is I know several other people that have been through that same GE program that you were a part of, and that's a highly coveted position. I mean, it's a great company. It's a great training program. I actually know somebody that was with GE Capital for a long time, and I mean, is a huge C-level executive now.
Yeah.
So it's a breeding ground for what people historically think is kind of a dream job or dream jobs, and it's funny how I think more and more of us are realizing that working for somebody else is just not where we want to be.
It's interesting you say that, Mike, because I'll never forget the day I called my parents and I said, hey guys, I'm going to leave my job. I'm going to move back down to Miami and I'm going to start buying and selling real estate. My parents have always had the best in mind for me, obviously, as most people's parents do, but they thought I was absolutely insane to leave a corporate job making, at the time, $55,000 a year right out of college. I mean, they basically thought I had, the world by, in the palm of my hands.
Right.
But I just knew that if I continued to stay with it, I was going to get wrapped up. I was going to find someone, get married, have a family, and then it becomes even more challenging to make that move. So for me, it just felt like it was the right time to transition out of corporate America and sink or swim, basically.
Yep. Awesome. So my guess is from our conversation before is, there's a lot of people that get into real estate investing. If you think of it as kind of a funnel, there's a ton that are interested. And very few that kind of get out of the gate, if you will. So, and then even many that do make it through, and even some that are wildly successful, have essentially created another job for themselves. They haven't really structured their business to where it can run without them. And I'm not even a huge believer that you can have a real estate business that you can just be totally disconnected from and it just runs itself. I'm not sure that I'm quite there, even though I know some people that say they do that and seem to do well.
Right.
I feel like I still have to be involved in, primarily because I'm a rehabber, so I still look at each house. We've got some processes in place where I don't spend a lot of time doing, any of those things, but if I'm on the hook for it financially, I still have to be involved in approving each deal. But there's a ton of people that are involved in everything. I mean, every aspect of the job. And if they stop doing that tomorrow, then their business stops. They can't leave for a week or two at a time and just check in periodically. And I know that you're in agreement with the fact that none of us should be that way. We should find ways to build systems and support and have a team in place that can help with at least some of the parts of our business. So kind of talk about that, the importance of systemizing your business and building a team to help you, one, make your life better, but two, allow you to create something that's truly scalable.
Yeah, Mike, this is definitely something I'm passionate about, man, because I would say, people reach out to me from time to time and they always ask me, what are some of the mistakes you've made in the past that you've learned from and how can help me kind of navigate so I don't make the same mistakes. And one of the first things I always tell them is find the right people to bring onto your business and or leverage technology and other tools and resources so that ultimately you can replace yourself. And the mistake I made was from 2005 to 2008, 2009, the first 4 years of the business, so to speak, I was a one-man show. I did the marketing, I spoke to sellers, I visited properties, I was the home inspector. I mean, I did it all. I wore so many different hats. And there was 2 books I read that really opened my eyes to the possibilities of having an actual business that doesn't necessarily depend on you 100%. And that was Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Workweek, which I have it behind me here, and Michael Gerber's E-Myth, which I'm sure a lot of your viewers and listeners have heard about those 2 books. If they haven't, highly recommend you read them. Once I read that, there's the entrepreneur, there's the manager, and there's the technician, I realized that I was operating as a technician in my business. I was wearing so many different hats. And yeah, I was making, a lot more than I was making in my corporate job. I was also working a lot.
Yeah.
And when I read the 4-Hour Work Week, I went to that website that Tim Ferriss recommends, and I hired my first virtual assistant in India, paying $7-8 an hour, whatever it was. And once I got a taste of being able to, focus on revenue generating activities, that's one of the things my mentor, Fan Merrill, always told me when I got started is focus on revenue generating activities and where is your time better spent? So when I started offloading some of the things that I hated doing to my virtual assistant, it really opened my eyes to a business that can function, not necessarily, like you said, I'm still involved in my business, but I can disconnect and things will still run without me.
Yeah.
So again, that was a huge mistake I made. And I think to the extent that people can go out there and leverage human resources systems, in other words, other people that they can bring onto their team and or technology, I think that they're going to get the most out of their business and create something that is an asset as opposed to, a job that, it might be high paying, but it still requires you to work.
Yeah. Yeah. And even technology, I mean, as you know, you've been doing this for a few years longer than me, but man, how much that's changed just in the last few years alone to
constantly changing.
Yeah, to allow you to be somewhere without being there. But I think the key is somebody has to be there. It doesn't necessarily have to be you. So for example, now we use some different apps where people can be at a house and they can just call me in, whether it's FaceTime or something else, and I can see what's going on. My contractor wants to know, he wants to know what we need to do with these kitchen cabinets if we're going to refinish them, and I want to see how rough they are or, whatever that might be. It used to be that I'd have to drive across town, maybe an hour one way to have a 5-minute conversation. And now it's like, well, let's just jump on a video call and show me what you see and save that time. Or, I'm signing contracts from other countries on a vacation now and things like that. So, but the key is you still have to have other people that are helping you facilitate that, I think.
Correct. And I think something to piggyback on what we're talking about, Mike, is, the second mistake is people sometimes, they don't want to bring on a coach or a mentor and someone that's been there, done that to kind of help guide them through the process. And you can certainly do it yourself.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but to the extent that you have someone that has already paved the way, so to speak, I think it's going to help you. It's going to save you a lot of time and money. And in my case, if I would have gotten a mentor like right off the bat in 2005, I could have saved myself a lot of heartache. And that's, if you find someone that you see their business and it works without them, invite that person out to lunch, take them out to coffee, to have a cup of coffee, whatever it might be, and pick their brain. And then it's not just about picking the brain. Obviously, you got to take what they share with you and then implement it. Because if you don't do anything in 5-10 years, you're going to find yourself continuing to work, and as Gerber says, doing it, and God forbid something happens to you, your business shuts down. That's not a sustainable model.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that because we talked a few times about coaching and mentoring, and I'm a mentor to a very large group of people that buy houses, hundreds of houses all across the country, and there's some people that think that that's ridiculous. Like, why would you pay somebody to teach you anything? You can just learn for free. Just do a Google search, and you can learn. You can do those things. That's fine. But even I found I pay mentors and coaches now, in fact, ridiculous amounts of money. People would kind of assume that. I guess what I'm trying to say is, as a coach and a mentor myself, I understand the value of having a coach or a mentor and other things, to the point to where I pay thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, certainly tens of thousands of dollars a year, to get access to certain people that are, whether they're in social media or other things, because I know that there's one little nugget that they're going to give me that's going to way cover the cost of that. And so I think people don't necessarily need to look at mentors as somebody to hold my hand every single day. It's not, you're not hiring an assistant, but somebody that can get you over those roadblocks when they come, because whatever you're paying them is probably worth the price, many times over.
I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know, right? There's that saying, and there's people that have been there, done that. And if you can just, if you can just model what they do, I think you're setting yourself up for success. I mean, you can certainly try to bang your head against the wall and figure it out yourself, but it's going to take you a lot more time and probably a lot more money.
Yeah. So in terms of, maybe you could share some insights as to, for people that want to start implementing systems, or maybe whether it's virtual assistants or people that are in their office or that are in their town to help them with their business.
Right.
And it's going to be different for everybody, but where do they start? Where do they say, what's the first thing I kind of should look at offloading?
It's a great question. So I think, an eye-popping exercise for me was, what I would recommend is break your day down into half-hour chunks and literally write down what it is you do on a daily basis every half hour. So on a simple Excel spreadsheet, just take out a piece of paper and a pen and write down, okay, from the moment I wake up to the moment I lay my head down on my pillow, what is it I do every half hour or every 15 minutes, whatever works for you. And then look at that list at the end of the day and figure out, okay, what is it that I love? What is it that I enjoy doing? And where is it that this is bringing in revenue and profits into my business?
Yeah.
Is spending time with on Google checking email or on Facebook or taking calls from motivated sellers, which is personally one of the things I didn't like doing. Figure out what it is you like doing and what it is you don't like doing, and then focus on the things you don't like doing. What I like to do is create a video of showing someone exactly step by step how it is I do that process. So say, for example, posting an ad on Craigslist. I'll literally create a video that shows people like from A to Z, like how to log into Craigslist, where to go, what ads to post. And then what I'll do is I'll send that to my virtual assistant and I'll have her transcribe that video and literally create a bulleted standard operating procedure for how you do that specific task.
That's great.
So I would go down the line and create a video and have someone create an SOP of how to do the things that you currently do and have to do, but don't like to do.
Yeah.
And then find the right person to go ahead and transition that off to, and then just continue to go down the line. I mean, that's where I would recommend someone start, leveraging other people and other resources.
Yeah. And from someone, I have virtual assistants that work for me as well. I'm a huge believer. I love virtual assistants. Without getting into a lot of details there about my love for virtual assistants, tell me a little bit about what you think can be outsourced, maybe some of the things that can't be outsourced to a virtual assistant that you don't feel comfortable outsourcing to someone overseas that you would feel more comfortable. Maybe there's some things that you don't feel comfortable outsourcing at all, and then some things that you feel need to be a little closer to home in terms of somebody that works in your office or near you.
So there's different schools of thought on this, Mike, and I think if you talk to, if you interview 10 different people, you might get some conflicting opinions.
I'm sure.
At first, I was of the opinion that I always wanted to speak to motivated sellers, and that's something that I was not comfortable outsourcing to a virtual assistant. Yep. Over the course of the last year and a half, I've realized that as long as you pre-screen people and you bring on the right person into your business, it doesn't matter if that person's a virtual assistant. If you've coached and trained them enough, at that point, I felt comfortable in transitioning off. That was one of the things that, I'd send out a campaign of 5,000 postcards, and I'd get a couple hundred calls. And then I was the one that, I'd be having dinner and my cell phone was ringing. And I had, by the time I finished having dinner, I had, 6 voicemails and like 4 text messages. And then I had to jump into the office, call all these people, take all their information. So for me, that was one of the first things that I really wanted to offload. So it was about, putting out information about how is it that I speak to a motivated seller. Yeah. And it took me a while until I found the virtual assistant that I felt comfortable with, and now I have someone in Colombia that's bilingual that takes all of our motivated seller calls. Okay. Marketing, I think, is another aspect that, depending on who you talk to, they'll say, I'd rather do that because marketing is the lifeblood of the business, or that's something that I can outsource. Well, I use clicktomail.com, and I just created a simple video on how to upload the postcard, how to use the mail merge, how to upload the list. So our virtual assistant in the Philippines handles all of our direct mail campaign when it comes to anything and everything that can be done online. So yeah, going back to just figuring out what it is that you like doing and what brings in the most money to your business, I would keep that on your plate, especially to start. But the things that you hate doing that have to get done, I would definitely, take those off your plate and try to find a virtual assistant or someone to, to do those for you.
Yeah, one of the things that, and I don't know if you do these things, we use, there's a number of different task management tools out there. I mean, there's a million of them, but a popular one and one that we use is Asana. And we just create these lists of tasks, ASANA, Asana.com. In fact, it's free. We use it for everything in our business. So we have task lists for every house we buy. If it's going to be a rehab, these are the 70 tasks that's already pre-assigned to who that person in our company does it, based on the template. But as a manager, as an owner, and there are a number of things that we do. We even have like a weekly task list that, hey, my virtual assistant on Wednesday at 10 a.m. has to do this. On Thursday, once a month, they do this. And I can always go look at where their tasks are and see, are they on track? Do they say they're done? That just provided me some additional comfort to know that they have these responsibilities, yet there are some checks and balances in place that I can be, have some level of certainty that they're actually getting done.
100%. I'm actually leveraging a CRM called Podio.com.
Yeah, we use Podio too. Yeah, for our business.
I absolutely love Podio, and I have to thank a good friend of mine, and I know he's a mutual friend, Chris Chico.
Yep.
Last year, he introduced me to Podio. So we have our entire business running through Podio, our virtual assistants, my acquisitions managers, everyone on my team is on Podio, and exactly that, they have certain tasks and they have daily checklists of things that they have to go through, and I can always log into Podio online or on my phone and kind of see, where everyone is at in their tasks. So whether it's Podio or Infusion or anything else, highly recommend that, or Asana, that people use something that keeps the entire team on track. And even if you don't have a team and it's just you, it's probably a good idea to start getting in the habit of leveraging a tool like that.
Yes. So
when you bring people on board, it's easy to kind of have your finger on the pulse of your business.
Yeah. Plus, this business is very task oriented. Whether it's marketing, whether it is what you do when you get a lead. There's always, these are the 10 things you do. These are the 3 things you do. Whatever it is, it's the same thing over and over and over again. And I think it's this industry, or kind of what we do, was basically, checklists were made for what we do. So
exactly. And again, man, that goes back to the whole Michael Gerber thing, is creating systems around every part of your business. And a system can be nothing more than a simple bulleted checkpoint or checklist that says, first do this, second do this. And it's like McDonald's, right? And you go in there and you got 15, 16-year-olds working, and the food, even though I haven't had McDonald's in years, it tastes the same no matter where you go.
Right.
And it's all based on systems.
Yeah. So talk a little bit about, for folks that, I want to talk a little bit about A players. I know that's something that's important to you, is bringing in A players. You're also talking about virtual assistants, which personally, the virtual assistants that I have that work for me now are, I would put them on par of anybody I've had physically in my office, or maybe better. I mean, just amazing work ethic and things like that. So I don't know if you're necessarily referring just to virtual assistants, but talk about the importance and maybe give some advice on finding the right people, not just warm bodies.
Yeah. And actually, I've been through, quite a few virtual assistants. And when I say A players, I mean anyone that you would bring onto your team, from virtual assistant all the way up to, a transaction coordinator, an acquisitions manager, which I have a few of. And when I say A players, I'm talking about superstars. I'm talking about someone that they're a rock star in the way that they go about their business and the way that they take on a task and their particular role. So I think for me, one of the things I've learned, throughout the last year is slow to hire and quick to fire.
Yep.
And what I mean by that is, when I place an ad on Craigslist or Indeed.com or ZipRecruiter, I'll have these people go through a series of things just to get on the phone with me for an interview. So one of the things that I'm testing now is I'll have, and I forgot who did this. I didn't make this up, but I got this from someone. I'll have that person create a 2 or 3 minute video as to why they're interested in the position with the company and what they feel they can bring to the table. Second, I'll have them go to TonyRobbins.com and take like a 10 to 15 minute, it's like a DISC personality test, and then email the results along with their resume. So if they don't do those things like to the T, I don't even waste my time.
Yeah.
Like I just don't bother with them. So what I mean by a rock star and A player is the people that actually read the ad and do the steps. That's a good indication that you're on the right track. And this is a person that, you can give simple instructions to, and they're going to take it and run with it.
Right.
And then when I talk to them, I always like to find out, where do they see themselves in 3, 4, 5 years? What are some of their goals and their aspirations, and what are some of the accomplishments that they've had over the course of that time, or over the course of the last few months and few years? Because successful people, they have a track record, And at the very least, if they haven't achieved a level of success yet, as long as they're hungry, as long as they're motivated and they're a go-getter, those are the people that I want to bring on my team because I know they're going to give it their all. And it's just a matter of coaching them and guiding them along the right path. Again, a mistake I've made is I've just hired warm bodies because I didn't personally want to do the task.
Right.
You know, I just out of sight, out of mind. Well, that's the wrong approach because you're going to spend so much time following up with that person and having to redo the work that they do. And at the end of the day, you were just probably better off doing yourself if you're not going to focus on finding the right people to bring on your business.
Yeah. Well, why don't you elaborate a little bit on something you just said? And in all honesty, it's something that I struggle with. I think so. Kind of virtual assistants aside, maybe not necessarily aside, but anybody you would hire, you know, probably more physically in your office or closer to your business, that you want people that are high achievers that you know want to progress in their career over the next 3 to 5 years, let's say. At the same time, most of what you need them to do is repetitive, and it will almost be like that forever. So how do you balance between finding people that want to achieve more and grow in a position that is difficult to grow? You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of times if it's a transaction coordinator or just somebody that takes calls, it's like that's kind of be that way in 10 years.
Correct.
You know, so how do you kind of balance that?
Yeah, no, it's a great question, Mike. And I think the key is to, and that's part of the reason I have people take that Tony Robbins DISC personality test is if I'm dealing with someone that's a high achiever and someone that they have high aspirations and they want to make a lot of money, that person is probably better suited, in my opinion, for some sort of sales role.
Yeah.
So whether it's an acquisitions manager or a sales manager, that's the kind of person that I would want to fill that role. But like, for example, a year ago, I brought on board a former student of mine that has, you know, he was making 6 figures in his corporate job and he has a lot of, you know, high aspirations and the guy's a rock star. It would have been a mistake to put someone like that in a virtual assistant or in a transaction coordinator role.
Right.
Because like you said, there's only so much they can do. But in a sales role, I think sky's the limit, right? You know, to the degree that they're willing to work and bust their butt, you know, they can make a lot of money in that role. So I think it's a matter of finding the right person based on their personality and what their goals are for the right position on your team, you know, because it does you no good to, you know, if I interview someone and they tell me, you know, I want to make 6 figures, I'm not going to put that person in a transaction coordinator role because it just doesn't, it doesn't make sense, right?
Yep.
There's only so much that person's going to be able to make. Like a virtual assistant is not going to make 6 figures. That person, like I said, is probably better suited for a sales role in which, you know, the revenue that the company generates is tied to their efforts to a certain degree.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think in my experience, even the same thing with salespeople, if they are telling you that they need or you want salespeople that say the sky's the limit, you want to be able to present them with that opportunity, but you know as a business owner, there's some limit, usually based on their personal bandwidth. So if you have an opportunity for somebody to make $100,000 a year and they're saying, I'm not going to be happy unless I'm making $250,000 a year, then that might not be a fit either.
That might not be a fit. I think you're setting yourself up for failure. And you know, one of the things I do when I interview people is I'm realistic. Like I'll tell them, look, this is what we've done this year to date. And this is where we project and where we plan on going based on X, Y, and Z. So realistically, you're going to be somewhere in this range. So, you know, I have someone that comes to me and they say, I want to make $500,000 a year. I'm going to tell them, look, this is probably not the opportunity for you because I don't see that as being feasible at this moment.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it's about knowing, you know, being honest with yourself and knowing what someone can, you know, reasonably make working with you, and then just being honest with them and communicating that to them.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, hey, thanks for sharing your insights today. We're basically reading from the same book, I think, my friend.
Awesome, man. Glad to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if folks want to learn more about you or get in contact some way, where should they go?
So my blog, alexpardo.com, is somewhere they can go. Admittedly, I haven't been as active as I was in the past, and every once in a while I share some insight. I put some videos and some blog posts on there. If they want to reach out to me personally, you know, one of the things I do is every year I'll handpick, you know, a few people that I'll work with one-on-one. They can go to alexpardo.com/mentoring.
Okay. Awesome, awesome. Well, Alex, hey, thanks so much for your time today. Appreciate you sharing some of your insights and your lessons.
Hey, man, anytime, man. I'm happy to contribute, and hopefully people find this valuable.
Absolutely. Okay, my friend, stay in touch.
All right, man. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Are you a member of FlipNerd.com, the most robust real estate investing platform in existence, where you can find off-market wholesale deals and great vendors literally in your market? You can get access to advice from experts and learn about local clubs and events right in your backyard. If not, please visit FlipNerd.com and register for a free account. You can register in less than a minute. It's pretty much the coolest site that's ever existed in the real estate investing industry, so get on over to FlipNerd.com.